Hey, Doug. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Come on in, folks. Woo! We get right into it. We've got lots to get through. Get in quickly. Baby walk. Hey, Monique. Welcome. How are you? Salam, Jujus. Welcome. Go the Milky Way. Hi. How are you? Oh, daytime noisy? Huzzah. Yeah, we're back. We're going to do 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. Yes. Hey, Giselle. Come on in, folks. Come on in. Bum.
Be up soon.
Prime noisy immigrant has returned. Callum. Yo. My clothes brush. Hello. All right. Today we've got 3 big stories to cover. We're going to talk about what's the uprising of the student movement in India against Modi. Hey, Tony, welcome. Against Modi. And after that, we're going to talk about the U.S.'s escalation on Iran. We've got an Israeli arms deal, Israeli arms firm discussion by Declassified UK that they've just released. And also we're going to talk about the Chinese AI disrupting everything. Hey, Shanna, welcome. So let's get into it, folks. Let's get into it. I hope you're all doing well. Morena, that's good morning in Tereo Maori. And kia ora, welcome. Welcome in, everybody. Radio, let's go. We're going to start off with the cockroach protests. The Cockroach Janata Party. Very, very interesting uprising in India. My goodness, it's kicking off.
India's Gen Z cockroaches are on the march and rising up, and the government is fighting back. Thousands of outraged young people are protesting right outside Parliament. They say they want the education system fixed and the Prime Minister Modi to resign. After claims an Indian judge called them parasites. So how has a movement that started as an online joke gained millions of followers and disrupted Indian politics?
We want कि छात्रों की बात सुनी जाए क्योंकि अब पानी जो है सर से ऊपर से निकल चुका है.
And what do these protesters actually want? Here's the breakdown.
Beautiful.
There are youngsters like cockroaches. They don't get any employment. They don't have any place in profession.
This is how it all started. An Indian judge compared the country's young people to cockroaches. The young people didn't
Down
just
with
fight
capitalism,
back.
yes.
They embraced their new nickname. An online movement started with an AI-generated cockroach as its mascot. And then it went viral on social media. The Cockroach Janata Party's Instagram page boomed, attracting 3 million followers in the first 72 hours, then overtaking the Prime Minister's party, which had 9 million, and now they're sitting at more than 24 million followers. The CJP's leader is this guy, Abhijit Dipke. He once worked for an opposition party and studied PR in America, and he's now bringing thousands of online followers to the streets of his home country. They want change in jobs and education.
I'm hoping to be here as long as there is accountability on this.
40% of India's graduates below the age of 25 are unemployed, and millions of students were forced to resit their exams when question papers were leaked.
मैं इसीलिए आई हूँ कि जब ये सड़ा हुआ सिस्टम एक्शन नहीं ले रहा है, उनको बच्चों का दर्द नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है.
More than 20 students have died by suicide since the scandal, according to reports.
The education minister is sitting at his position despite the death of 20 students. I think that is the far bigger illegal thing to do. We are just sitting here peacefully demanding justice for the students.
The government has said it's taken steps to prevent future paper leaks and will punish those responsible. Over the weekend, police used violence, including tear gas and batons, to stop marchers who are now calling for the PM, Narendra Modi, to resign.
पीसफुल मार्च कर रहे हैं, कुछ भी गलत नहीं कर रहे. कोई हमारे हाथ में कोई सामान नहीं, कोई हथियार नहीं. हम सीधा आगे आगे जा रहे थे. पुलिस ने धक्का मुक्की करना स्टार्ट कर दी और आंसू गैस के गोले दागने शुरू कर दिए. There was an unlawful assembly जिसको डील किया गया. कुछ स्टोन पेल्टिंग के इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं. कुछ protesters को दिल्ली पुलिस ने डिटेन भी किया. Appropriate action लिया जा रहा है.
Tensions were heightened when a prominent anti-government campaigner on hunger strike was forcibly taken to hospital.
सोनम सर को घसीट कर गाली गलौज करके लेकर गए. 60 साल से जो इंसान है, जो भूख हड़ताल पर बैठा हुआ था 20 दिनों से, 60 साल के इंसान को जो 20 दिनों से भूखा था, उसको दिल्ली पुलिस गाली गलौज करके.
Both sides did try and meet for talks, and the government said it went well. The CJP, though, weren't impressed.
Waste of time, 5 घंटे में बिठा के रखा.
The Cockroach Janta Party isn't actually a political party yet, but it's already being seen as one of the biggest challenges facing the Indian government in recent times. So
Hey,
this
Prof.
Cockroach Party has exploded in
Binks,
popularity in a
welcome.
matter of weeks, and the government now seems to be taking it very seriously.
Hey, Walker.
There's even been claims that access to the group's website was blocked in India. So what's next for the Cockroach Party? If it becomes official, could it actually compete as a political party? And if not, how does this all get resolved? To help answer these questions, I'm going to bring in Sadiq Waheed. He's a historian and political analyst in India. Sadiq Waheed, thank you so much for speaking to us. Firstly, I've got to ask you, how did this all get started?
Well, I think it got started in a rather volatile way because the Chief Justice of India described protesters who were unemployed,
I'm well, thank you,
frustrated, and angry.
Hey, salam,
with,
Auntie
the
Wash,
leak
salam.
Of a All India exam for entrance into universities and colleges and so forth. He described the people
In India, man. Oh, you like it here better on TikTok? Nice. Hey, Leah. In India, Hey, Fudge. Salam. The competition for seats at university is insane. I mean, there are so many kids, right? There are so many people wanting to study and wanting to get jobs, etc. It's cutthroat, man. There is so much competition. That's why there's suicide with students and things. Because, hey, Orpheus, welcome. Hey, no fixed address. Big Jerry, welcome everybody. Salam, Scary. Yeah, it's there's so much competition, and hence why what's happened has happened. It's just a lot of people. What's the issue? They're leaking people's papers. No, there's a scandal that they're leaking the question paper. The question paper was leaked to the wider public, but what what really is happening is people with money can buy question papers and they can score really well in these exams. So again, it's the education system is becoming pay to play. And yeah, it just leaves so many people behind. So many people who are spending so much money trying to, like people in villages, people in poverty, trying to, get their kids through university and things like that. They just they can't compete with people with money. They just can't. Hey, I
who
read
were
good. Welcome.
angry at that and protesting as cockroaches. And as a result, someone who was from India in the United States studying, I believe, Abhishek Dipke, decided that he would take that name on and describe all the protesters as cockroaches. And I think informally called it the Cockroach Party, or whatever, the Cockroach Janta Party or the Cockroach People's Party. And that's how the name came up.
Why
Yes.
were they called cockroaches and they didn't take on lions, tigers, or some other animal?
That was largely because the description was used by the opposition, in this case, the Chief Justice of India, who
It's about turning what the oppressor thinks is weakness into a strength. It is the way black people embrace the N-word when they're talking to each other, because the oppressor dehumanized black people using the N-word. And they have turned what the oppressor thought was a weakness into a strength. And the same thing with a curry for Indians. In Aotearoa, we get called curries, or, curry munchers, or whatever you want to call it. It's about turning curry muncher into a strength. The oppressor wanted to be, wanted to use it as derogatory term. It's turning that weakness into a strength. And it's the same thing here. They called them cockroaches. Now they're using that word as strength, and it's working.
was, I think, it was perceived that he was taking the side of the government rather than the call for justice on the part of the students. And so it was shall we say, satirical take on of the name, and said, okay, so then we are cockroaches and we will protest on that basis.
And this has gone viral in a massive way. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's captured the hearts of Gen Z in India?
Well, I think because in one sense, it was a demeaning term that had been used of them, and I think that there was a propensity to take it on and not resist it. Number one, and number.
By the way, that's why the name "The Noisy Immigrant" exists, because I got called the noisy immigrant. I was told that I was a noisy immigrant when I was expressing my views about politics in Aotearoa. It was used to keep me quiet, or try to keep me quiet. So, that didn't work, did it?
But two, it was at the sort of like a build-up of anger towards this pattern, and it was a pattern over several years of exam papers being leaked into the public, nullifying the efforts of study, etc., on the part of students all over India, and trying to sort of suggest that this was done in order to further corruption or something of that nature. And so, therefore, I think it was a combination of anger, a satirical take on of a name, as well as deep frustration with, sort of a level of corruption that
Hey, Jen.
I think, history will probably
Hello.
classify as being somewhat unique and unprecedented.
What is it like to be a younger person in India? What kind of opportunities are there at the moment? We've seen that unemployment is around 40%. It must be
Yes.
hard.
It is very hard.
Unemployment, 40%. 40%. Can I just say, if you don't know, one family in India owns as much as 10%, is worth as much as 10% of India's GDP. One family in India is worth as much as 10% of India's GDP. This is what capitalism does. It causes massive inequities. Hey, Marit, welcome.
Hard. And I think you'll have to ask a person younger than I at this point, as to how they feel. But I mean, it doesn't take, it's not rocket science to see how they must feel as to having no future. India is not unknown for talent. I think the world over, Indians are in key positions. But it is frustrating when you don't see a future for yourself.
Yeah, but those Indians in those high positions are perpetuating the problem, causing the unemployment in India. Hey, Shiny. Hey, Kiki. Hey, Lisa. So those Indians in those high positions continue to cause those unemployment levels in India by exploiting India's labor. These are the house curries that we talk about. The house curries that use their power to continue to maintain the oppressive status quo. They are not there in those positions of power. They're not there in those positions of power to empower these youth. They are there to exploit them. They're there to exploit their labor. All of them who are in power, especially in the technology industry, right? It's all outsourced work. The technology people in the technology industry get paid like 20x, 30x, 100x less than what you get paid in the West. It's exploitation of labor. It is a system of oppression. I mean, it's called capitalism, but ultimately, where does it come from? Capitalism is a European colonization. It is ultimately European colonization and white supremacy. It has built a system. It has built a system over 600 years to continue to extract wealth from the global south. Okay? That's what's happened here. And those leaders that this guy's talking about, the Indian leaders, they are amplifying that system. They are allowing their own people to be exploited. It's disgusting, and yeah, it should be called out everywhere.
In this. And so that's one. The other is that it tends to be the underprivileged.
Hey, El Finito. Damien, welcome.
Sort of on the margins of society from an economic point of view, who feel it the most, because they are, I mean, their whole aim in life is to prove something, that they can do it, that it's not money, that it's not ancestry, that it's not privilege, that's not access to officials. That's the only factor, and that in a democracy where they are given the expectation that if they work hard, they can make it. When they see that eroding, when they see that passing away, or going past them, I think it's heartbreaking.
When that message no longer exists, right? If you work hard, you will get somewhere.
Absolutely. And in fact, not very long ago, I was in Delhi and I was at the site of the protests. And it was really heartbreaking to see the passion with which they were talking, and very peacefully, protesting, but with huge clarity. As to what it is that they want, and what they want is access, equal access to education, and to entering examinations, and being given a chance, And when that is taken away, I really don't know what it feels like, and I wouldn't even try to describe it, but it is very difficult to witness that, as I did in that crowd on that particular evening.
What about the guy that has set this all off then? What do you know about
Yes.
him?
Not very much, I must say. I know
Hey,
that he
Farida,
was
welcome.
a student in Boston in the United States, and he
Hey,
tweeted
Van.
this or X'd this or whatever.
I don't know what the
and-
term is anymore.
Yeah, it
Hey,
just
Frost.
sort of, went on a roll and really picked up very fast. And I must say, to his credit, rather than shy away from being in India at this time, he came. And there was quite a bit of a hullabaloo when he came, to Delhi, because they expected him to be arrested and so forth. He wasn't arrested. He was allowed, in fact, to go to the protest site and protest and so forth. So I think, that is
Hey, Louise.
sort of he's obviously given this a momentum. But I think it's important to recognize that in the last month, and that was almost exactly the last month because it began on the 20th of June. It has gone way beyond personalities. It has, and it is now really something. It's a I mean, it may be too early to call it a movement, but it's a spark. That has set a lot of backs up. And
thank you so
people
much,
are
Frost.
starting to
Hey, Vinci.
question much more openly, much more radically.
Is it Vinci or Vinci?
The issues of accountability
Vinci Bell.
in government,
Welcome.
and the issues of needing to be heard, and not just asking to be heard, but demanding to be heard. And also, I think getting onto the game, if that's the right expression, of, sort of like the government demonizing people who oppose it and oppose its policies, not just oppose it, but oppose its policies. And I think that, that sort of gives some of us, a little bit of hope, is that maybe, there is something developing here which will have an impact.
You said some people's backs have been put up by this. Are you talking about the government? What has their response been so far?
Well, I mean, for the longest time, there was no response. I shouldn't say that. I mean, I think for a long time, there was no response. Once the the protests got rolling, then police were put out. But at the same time, it was the protests were permitted, to take place, which was a bit, I must admit, which was a bit of a surprise for me. But it also meant that the government perhaps knew something that we in the general public didn't know, and that was that there was some depth, there was some, shall we say, speed, to this movement that was starting to take place. And I think those are things that go through the mind. I mean, still early days. I think 1 month is not much in the context of history, in the long run. But I think so there was maybe some recognition of something that is going on. But now, what is different now is that I think the accusations against the government and the attacks on individuals within the government are very sharp, very clear, and also, I must say, at the same time, respectful. So that says a lot, I think, for.
Yeah, respectful, I think, for now. It doesn't need to be respectful. What India, the Indian elite or the Indian billionaire class, the Indian political class have done to the people of India post-independence is just absolutely drain India of resources, using religion and the caste system as the vehicles to do that. I just feel there needs to be a focus on recovery after what the British did and continue to do to the global south, right? Like it's extraction of wealth still. So there needs to be, I think, a domestic focus on improving the situation for the people in India. But as long as neoliberal fascist leaders like Modi continue to occupy space, India will not progress. It's all about advantage to the West, you know? It's all about the West exploiting India through these house curries, these leaders who want to uphold and maintain the status quo of, you know, white supremacy and Western leadership. It's unnecessary. That needs to change in India. And until that happens, there won't be development. Hey, Sylvie. Hey, Street Smarts.
Or the overall atmosphere that's, igniting, shall we say.
We should say that one of Modi's cabinet ministers today said the Prime Minister has vowed to punish those behind the exam paper leaks and that re-examination was given priority.
No. They should not accept that. They should not accept any of that. They should not accept just to say, okay, we'll punish them. Bullshit. No. Resign, bro. You fucked up. Resign. Leave. Congress is bullshit, Vimy. Congress is also like just controlled opposition, you know? Congress is controlled opposition. I mean, this Rahul Gandhi guy just seems like an actor. Hey, Nilesh, welcome. It's not particularly a good look that the opposition party is in on it in a different way. This Rahul Gandhi guy is such a lib.
Protesters want the education minister to step down and resign. Some have called for Narendra Modi himself, the Prime Minister, to resign. How likely do you think any of those people are to step down from government?
Right. Well, I mean, I think we do live in authoritarian times, you know, and so the likelihood of that happening, I don't think is very high. You know, but it is an indication of the level of frustration. It is an indication of, how strongly people feel that they would risk saying it on camera, loud and clear, you know, and not worry about the consequences.
You smile when you say that. Why are you smiling?
Well, it's good to see some pushback from youth. And some sense of not fearing power in youth, I must say. You know, I mean, I'm a child of the 70s, you know, when we grow up, and protest was like second nature, to it. And then you would go. But we are seeing less and less and less of it in India.
Kia ora, shirtless monkey. Kia ora.
You know, various parts all over the country, in various parts of it. So when this comes, it's heartening. It's heartbreaking as well.
I like this 2-a-day streams. I watch you before work and on KY last hour of work. Gets me through the day. Street Smarts. That's awesome. I'm glad. I would recommend people checking out the works of Anuradha Gandhi, and also researching and studying semi-colonial, semi-feudalism. I recommend Scripting the Change by Anuradha Gandhi. Thank you, Sylvie. Hey, Mama Sunshine.
There's a mix of emotions, I must say. I mean,
we saw Gen Z protests in Nepal and Bangladesh recently, and they have had really successful outcomes, or relatively.
Yeah, Rahul Gandhi, after he got let out of jail, said the police will stay, but but Modi will go. It's like, what? What is he talking about, bro? Oh, this Rahul Gandhi guy is such a poser, man. He's a Bollywood actor. He has no. He's a nothing person. I don't know, man. Like this controlled opposition. this controlled opposition is so bad. I feel for the youth in India. They have no avenue. They have no avenue for change. None. The Indian government is useless. So this Cockroach Janata Party gaining popularity isn't by chance. There's no other avenue for these young people for change. And the fact that they're rising, it is the young people of India are a sleeping giant. Okay? It's a sleeping giant waiting, has been waiting to be woken up. And here it is. It's coming out into the open. They're starting to take matters into their own hands. And it will be unstoppable. It'll be unstoppable. But will they be quelled or will they continue? That's the thing. Because the journey's just started. This is the beginning. If they truly want to change, they'll have to dig through the system and completely purge it of all of this corruption. So this is a long battle. My question is, is this a trend, or is this trending in the moment, or is this truly something that they're going to keep up for a long time? Hello, Candice. Hello, Mike. Hello.
Successful outcomes. How do you think this compares?
It's a good question. It's a very difficult question because, when you compare the populations, Nepal is about 28 million, 30 million people, and Bangladesh is
on the
200
shelf,
million.
marhaba.
But in India, you're talking about 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
So
I know. I've actually met a person in Bangalore who does the distribution of money in his little village for their party. Marhaba Fafa, welcome. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. They get boxes of cash, and families rely on those boxes of cash to survive. But they have to vote a certain way. They buy off votes. I know a guy who distributes this money. It's so corrupt, man.
The impact of what is going to happen in India is not going.
But this is the only way it can change. This is the only way it can change. Through youth. Through these young people. This is the only way it can change. To be honest though, Monique, it's not really that much of a wow, because Elon Musk basically stood up on stage and gave people $1 million. If they like he had competitions. It happens everywhere. It's just that India, it is so impoverished. It happens in a different way. I mean, APAC donations, the same sort of stuff. It's everywhere. It was only 2 people and it was illegal. No, but it wasn't just 2 people. It was thousands, if not millions of people entering a competition to win $1 million. It wasn't just 2 people. That's the point. And American politicians are bought off by private interests, Democrats and Republicans. So, I mean, the corruption is there. In the West, they call it. In the West, they'll call it lobbying, I guess. But when you could classify this as lobbying too, but because it's in the global South, they'll call it corruption, right? But it's all corruption. The West is no better. It's just that in India, it has a bigger impact. Infrastructure doesn't get built. And it has a bigger impact because India has been exploited for generations. So, yeah, no one talks about that corruption. The West extracting wealth from India for generations. But everyone's happy to talk about this. but how we got here is also important to talk about.
Going to be just for India. It's going to be all of South Asia, which is 2 billion of, people of the world's population. And that's a quarter of the world's population.
But the youth will change it. The difference between, I guess, this movement and what's happening in, say, America is most people in America are ready to accept the two-party system. At least in India, you know, the youth are saying, well, we don't give a fuck about the system. We just want our lives to be better. That No Kings protest was such a sham, bro.
You know, that's not a small number. I think that spells trouble for the world at large. You know, so I think that it's very difficult to compare what happens in Nepal and in Bangladesh or in Sri Lanka a little bit earlier than that, you know, to what is happening in India. In some way, things
Hey, Kara.
take a lot longer in
Welcome,
India
welcome, Dan.
for the ripple effects to take effect. In fact, we've not seen anything.
No, but even the Democratic Party is using African Americans or black people as human shields. It's still, the Democrats still work for white interests. It still works for white supremacy. Nothing's changed. And no, the Democratic Party was not built by black people. It was the Democrats and Republicans existed before, when slavery was still active. The two-party system. Read a book, Monique, called White Fear. An American wrote that book about America's politics and history as well. It's a short read. But you should check it out. It's called White Fear, and it talks about America's politics. It's an important read for every American, I feel. White Fear.
That can be called an all-India ripple effect on the part of the people, at least. In our entire 78 years of...
It also talks about, Barack Obama and his issues. Like, Barack Obama coddled white people by saying, oh, it's not your fault that it's this way. He tried to get the white vote by you vote for harm reduction. Yeah, but the problem is, Monique, when you vote for harm reduction for yourself, it means genocide in other places, right? So Americans need to start realizing that foreign policy is as important as domestic policy. Because if you don't vote for just and humane foreign policy, you will get that inhumanity locally as well. So your foreign policy is what allows the two-party system to continue to thrive. You have to change your foreign policy. If you don't change your foreign policy, you will be condemned to generations of the two-party oppression.
Of independence, So I don't know. I mean, I don't know that we can compare at all. We just have to wait and see. There are too many moving parts in India at the moment. I mean, not just at the moment, but all over, all the time. Yeah.
I have seen reports that the government was blocking.
Yeah, people are still hanging from trees that look like you because of the two-party system. Remember that the Democrats did not. After the Civil War, I guess they were still the Republicans then, did not take action against the Southern enslavers. They soothed. They tried to use the carrot approach for the Southern enslavers. They used a liberal approach. You cannot soothe racists. Action should have been taken, but it wasn't. And that is That is the true nature of your two-party system. Harm reduction will not save you.
The Cockroach Party, WhatsApp and websites. Have you
Yes.
seen that?
I've not witnessed it myself, even though when I was at the site, I don't think, I mean, I was not looking at my phone, quite frankly. So I
Harm reduction voting has led to Donald Trump.
don't know whether it happened or not happened, but it's a completely credible thing that it might have happened, at least around the site, within a radius of say half a mile or something. And I wouldn't put it past the government. It's not as if the government hasn't done that. It's done that to entire parts of the country, entire states, within the country and so forth. So I think that it is not. But social media and with all the difficulties it represents, also presents facility. So you go back home and you tweet or X or what.
Yeah, the problem, Monique, is that read the book White Fear. Honestly, I think it will open your eyes. The problem was never the black vote. I think the black vote has been Democrat in many senses for a long time, and that's like the vast majority. The issue has always been the white vote, white fear. The white fear of too much privilege being bestowed upon Black and minority communities, Native American communities. That's always been the issue. And because the white vote has the majority, it will always be that way in America. And yeah, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, both of them are complicit in this stoking of white fear in order to get votes. It's always the case. The Republicans stoke white fear. The Democrats try and soothe white ego, and the cycle continues.
Whatever, you go back home, you go back to your because in this protest, several people from other parts of the country have come. So you go back to your home state or whatever, and then you can tweet again. So it is. I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see what social media does also in the near future.
We're seeing just now that the party has gone to 24 million followers on Instagram.
Yes.
So they're growing and growing. They're actually not a political party yet. Do you think that they will be
totally,
soon?
Carol. Definitely the white vote for sure, and selfishness, and this thought that capitalism is superior and for some reason must be protected at all costs when it's terrible. Yeah, the thing is, capitalism is ultimately just white supremacy and the structure of European colonization and white supremacy. Like whenever you get people who are like, oh, I love capitalism, what they're saying is I love the systems of oppression, and I want to maintain the oppressive status quo. Right? They don't understand that they're saying that, but that is exactly what they're saying.
Hard to say, because of the mix.
That's why when people are like, "Oh, you're not a capitalist, then why do you use this product or this phone or whatever?" They don't understand what capitalism is. They are talking about they're conflating capitalism and commerce. They don't acknowledge the role of labor. They don't acknowledge the role of trade that's existed before capitalism and will continue to exist after capitalism. Capitalism is even more specific than that. Capitalism is what arose due to European colonization and the capitalism we have today. And that capitalism is about exploitation of labor. That is what capitalism truly is. But no one wants to talk about that.
That is already visible in the quote-unquote party, that we refer to.
So when the Democrats are So when the Democrats are, are glazing corporate interests, or playing to corporate interests, they are also helping maintain the oppressive status quo, i.e., white supremacy and the exploitation of labor, minority labor in particular. So, yeah, vote for Democrats, you're voting for oppression. Vote for Republicans, you're voting for oppression. Just maybe a little bit of a different flavor.
I think if it does, it would take some phenomenal organizing, to take place. I don't know that there is one in place. As I said, the personality cult.
Kamala Harris is a house curry as well. Kamala Harris is a definite house curry. She is a brown face / black face because she's both Indian and I guess black, Indian and black, brown and black. She is a house curry for sure.
Within the Cockroach, party, I think has sort of, taken a back seat almost, because it is actually the people, the Gen Z, if you will, or, the younger set who have come to the forefront and begun to, voice themselves harder. So I don't know, will it develop?
The Democrats are right now, like liberals, are right now spending more time shitting on the DSA than focusing their energy on the fascism that's apparently, killing the country. It's like, what the fuck is what are you guys doing?
Into a collective leadership of some sort, or will an individual emerge, who will be able to organize and sort of forward the agenda? And first of all, will it formulate a strategic agenda as opposed to a tactical agenda? A tactical agenda being, for example, having the education minister resign and not leave until the education minister resigns. Well, if that's the only part of the strategy, then of course, if and when the education minister resigns, what happens next? What does that mean?
Harris is a slaver? No, I think Kamala Harris's history is not as like this is the mistake people make. Kamala Harris has European roots because white slave owners used to grape their slaves. That's why you have, the current, there are so many like European / African roots in the black community. It's because the white slave owners used to mass grape black slaves. And I don't think Kamala's history will be any different than that. That's the issue. I think if you ask Kamala about that, she would have something to say about it.
All those questions will come up. So I think...
so no, Harris is not a slaver.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether there is a will to form a party, or is there a will just to resist? And the name party the word party in the name is an accidental sort of, development. I don't know. I mean, these are valid questions. Yeah.
And just one other question. We're seeing violence on the streets now with protesters and police. What's your sense of how this ends?
I'm afraid I'm going to resort to an honest answer, which is I don't know. You just referred to violence on the part of the protesters and on the part of the police. I must confess that I have been watching it fairly carefully although I'm not much of a social media, I'm very active on social media, shall we say, and things. But I've been watching the videos that are coming through and so forth. I haven't seen violence on the part of the protesters.
Yes. Yes.
Of
Good
any
man.
kind, in fact. But, one may miss one or two. And I cannot imagine that if there were protesters engaging in violence, that...
As Attorney General, she kept people in cages for profit. Oh, you mean that way? Yeah. The American prison system. Oh, bro. That's such a... That's literally the American prison system, black codes and convict leasing and all of these different models was set up in order to say that they abolished slavery. Like literally, they relabeled enslaving black people to black codes and convict leasing. It's unfortunate that people don't know this history, but yeah, they'll say slavery was abolished by white people. No, the word slavery was stopped being used, and they started to rebrand slavery as other stuff. Slavery didn't end.
That it would not be on social media. So I don't know. I mean, again, and so as to, how this is going to end, I hope not violently. Either for the protesters or for those who are trying to, sort of contain the protests, the police or paramilitary forces, whoever they are, that it will not end up with violence. I think that's something that in a population of 1.4 billion, where there are 24 million involved at one go, at least on social media, 24 million. But what it will mean for pockets of physical resistance that come about either in the way of protests, rallies, etc. I can't imagine what it would look like, but it wouldn't be pretty, So I think that we all have to hope that it doesn't take a violent turn on both sides.
Sadiq Waheed, it's been great to talk to you and get your insights on the Cockroach Party. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.
That's the breakdown. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Yeah, there's a fair bit more analysis on this, which I want to go through. I think that it's definitely raising some really good conversations here. Also, white settlers didn't end the slave trade out of goodness of their hearts. I recommend Settlers, the Mythology of the White Proletariat. Oh, yeah. Of course, Sylvie. Another good book is Gerald Horne's The Counter-Revolution of 1776. It's eye-opening. None of this shit was ended. Like, slavery was just rebranded. The reason why the British moved to abolish slavery was because of slave uprisings. It wasn't the British who were giving slaves a favor, doing the slaves a favor. It was the slaves who rose up to make slavery unprofitable, and so they had to act, and they abolished slavery, but then introduced incredibly violent and repressive policies after that as well. Like indentured labor wasn't a walk in the fucking park,
All roads have been barricaded. There's heavy police and security personnel deployment.
Delhi police appeals to all protesters to maintain peace, exercise restraint.
Yeah, one of the things that white supremacists will say is, look at the world now. Slavery exists in so many other places. There are probably more slaves now than there were during the height of transatlantic slavery. Yeah, bro. Modern slavery exists because of capitalism. The modern slavery contributes $230 billion in profits every year. It is literally a product of capitalism. Where did capitalism come from? From European colonization. Again, Europe figured out how to continue to enslave people through systems and not directly. They abstracted their role in it away behind corporations and global institutions. But the model of wealth transfer by exploitation of labor has continued to today.
And cooperate with the police in ensuring peace and public order.
There is no doubt that India's Cockroach Janta Party is a true protest movement, one able to gather thousands of young Indians together.
This is something unprecedented that we have been witnessing after a long, long time.
We were so peaceful. We were just asking for justice. What they did, tear gas. This is not right.
Do I ever do panels? We plan lives to do panels, Monique. I don't do panels often.
Over the next 10 minutes in The Big Story, we'll be on the ground in Delhi, where police have been cracking down on protests. We'll explore why millions of young people are taking inspiration from a
The main reason, Monique, is like I stream across multiple platforms. So I'm streaming on TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and now Facebook as well. So yeah, it would isolate viewers.
Cockroach.
Hey, I
what
can't
exactly
surf good.
They're demanding
Hello.
And how much of a threat they pose to the Prime Minister Modi's government. The story revolves around the Cockroach Janta Party, something which started as an online satirical movement but has grown into a serious political challenge. Well, this AI-generated image is part of the group's slick social media branding, which has helped attract millions of followers online. Our South Asia correspondent Azadeh Mishiri will guide us through your questions, starting with what is the Cockroach Party
Hey, Drea.
and why are thousands of young Indians calling themselves cockroaches?
So the name Cockroach Janta Party might be quite confusing for someone who's never heard it before, but it started about a month ago when the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court here in India referred to youngsters who drift towards social media and journalism as cockroaches. Now, he insists his words were taken out of context, that he was referring to young people with fake or bogus degrees. But either way, it ignited this movement when Abhijit Dipke, a Boston University student, started some social media accounts called Cockroach Janta Party, Cockroach People's Party. And it amassed millions of followers, more followers than the BJP's own social media accounts. That's the ruling party here in India. And since then, it has now proven that it's a true protest movement that can gather thousands of young Indians together.
Well, at the heart of the latest demonstrations is a scandal around alleged leaks of university entrance exams.
Hey,
well,
the
with
real
millions
deal,
of
Doug. Welcome.
candidates competing for a limited number of university places and jobs, a single exam can determine their entire future. So this scandal has caused nationwide uproar. But what do we know about the alleged exam leaks?
Well, the people we've spoken to say that the Cockroach Janta Party represents a lot of the general dissatisfaction and frustration amongst India's youth. The leak of a national entrance exam to medical colleges across India sparked a lot of anger. And for context, that is an extremely difficult exam, one that students can spend years studying for, and some families even pour their savings into that exam to help their
thank you for
children
following
study
on
for it,
Facebook as well.
because they think that it could lift some of them out of poverty in a country where there aren't many opportunities. And this isn't the first time there have been alleged leaks of exams. There have been a number of controversies.
Do Janta Party have a revolutionary state plan? BBC will be praising those who... Yeah, do they have a revolutionary plan? I don't know how much of a plan they actually have, but I don't think they need to. It needs to be organic. That's what's happened. That's why this is succeeding. It's collective action, collective planning, and it's happening organically. That's why this is working. It's not planned in some, in some massive way. It's just happening organically, and that's what movements like this. That's how it can be effective. You look at Bangladesh, you look at Nepal, you look at all of those places, how those revolutions happened. It's organic.
When it comes to the education system here, and that's why now students are demanding the resignation of the education minister as well as other reforms. They're also alleging, some families as well as the Cockroach Janta Party, that 20 students took their own lives after the exam was leaked and after they were forced to resit those exams.
Well, the Cockroach Janta Party is mostly protesting over issues they have with India's education system. They're calling for the education system to be overhauled with greater accountability over the alleged exam leaks and for the education minister to take responsibility and resign. But what else, though, are they demanding?
So the Cockroach Janta Party has several demands, and they did meet with a government minister for the first time yesterday. 2 senior members did. They are asking for the resignation of the education minister here in India. They're asking for an overhaul of the education system. They're also asking for financial compensation for the families who are saying that their children, about 20 students, took their own lives after the leak of the exam paper and the fact that they were forced to resit that national exam. But even before this movement, the Cockroach Janta Party did publish a manifesto with a list of other demands, including, for example, 50% representation for women in parliament.
Well, the protest movement gathered fresh momentum when this man, Sonam Wangchuk, one of India's best-known activists, began a hunger strike in solidarity with the protesters. Well, over the weekend, on the 21st day of his hunger strike, police dragged him into an ambulance and took him to a government hospital against his will. The police said it was to protect his health. His wife condemned it as illegal detention. Here's Azadeh on the influence he has and why his involvement actually matters.
Sonam Wangchuk's involvement in the protests and his support for the Cockroach Janta Party is also a reason why this movement has grown to this extent. He's extremely high profile here in India. He's a climate activist, an educator. He was actually in prison up until a few months ago. He has been on hunger strike for more than 20 days. And in fact, over the weekend, he was forcibly removed from the protest by police and taken to a government hospital. He'd lost more than 9 kilos at that point. Now, his wife had demanded that he be released. He wanted to, in fact, join the protests here this week as well. He's now been moved to a private hospital, but he has said that he will not stop his hunger strike until the education minister resigns and until these protesters' voices are heard by the government.
Well, tens of thousands of young men and women turned up for Monday's protest, defying a police ban as they tried to march on Parliament. Central Delhi witnessed overwhelming violence, with at least 60 protesters wounded when police used batons and tear gas on them. Policemen also tore down the stage and makeshift tents at the main protest venue. Police said 118 of their personnel were also injured and 70 protesters have been detained. Well, opposition parties have condemned the violence, but Prime Minister Narendra Modi hasn't commented on the nature of the crackdown. So how is it being covered by India's media?
So a lot of protesters are deeply frustrated by the way
You'll
that the
continue to
Cockroach
call
Janta
it
Party's
Bharat?
protesting
Nice.
movement is being covered in India. They are saying that national media is not covering this the way they should be.
Oh, bro, the mainstream media in India is so controlled. It's insane. Mainstream media in India is like incredibly controlled. It's so bad and obvious too.
And it is true that broadcast media is not covering this to the same extent as content creators are, digital media houses are. The accusation is that these are pro-government television houses who are refusing to give such an anti-government protest as much attention. And in fact, as we've been covering this the last few days, and in fact a month ago at the very first protest, we've seen protesters suddenly surround journalists that they believe work for pro-government media houses and chase them out.
Well, the movement has broadened into one of the most visible expressions of public dissent against Prime Minister Modi. Monday's police crackdown has not stopped the demonstrations. This was the scene today. Thousands of protesters again taking to the streets of the capital to demand accountability and change. Well, the Hindu nationalist government has spent years cultivating an image of stability, but this growing youth movement is proving a major political headache.
Do I watch Bollywood? Nah, my mum watches it, and Amber watch it. I haven't in like years. I haven't watched a Hindi movie or anything. I don't particularly crave to watch it, but if it's on the cards, like if a bunch of people are watching it, I'll sit down and watch. But I haven't for years.
Is the CJP's main spokesperson speaking to the BBC.
The kind of gathering that we saw here was historic. It was bigger than probably any protest that we have ever seen, and that is precisely because the youth of this country is feeling a sense of hopelessness, but they see this movement as their only hope out of this misery.
So, how much pressure is...
Yeah. Think about that. Like, this movement is becoming is being perceived as their only hope out of the misery. Why would they stop?
Narendra Modi now facing his as a day again.
Now, we've seen Gen Z protest movements in countries like Bangladesh and Nepal. I've covered the elections that followed those protests and brought in new governments this year. But when I spoke to the founder of the Cockroach Janta Party, he insisted that this is altogether different. He is really insisting that this is a peaceful protest movement.
I have a feeling that Modi is going to carry out repression. I think he's going to see that as the only option at some stage. And that is when he will write his obituary, in the sense of his political obituary anyway. The moment he knows, deep inside he must know, the moment he takes out his fascist anger on these kids, it's over. It's over.
Movement at
Hey,
cost.
X, welcome.
How much of a threat is it to the Narendra Modi government? Well, that remains to be seen. But this is the largest scale protest the capital has seen in years. And after weeks of protesting, the government felt the need to respond in some way. A minister did meet with two senior members of the Cockroach Janta Party. But have they responded specifically to the demands that are being made? Not so far. They are saying that they've been investigating the leak. But in terms of whether it could displace Narendra Modi, well, that's hard to imagine for a government that has been in power for more than 12 years now.
Well, the Cockroach Janta Party began, as we said, as a satirical online campaign, but it's evolved into a national protest movement capable of drawing tens of thousands of people onto the streets. And it has far-reaching aims, from reforming the country's education system to putting a stop to corruption. The huge turnout at the recent protests, subsequent scenes of violence, and the CJP's refusal to back down are likely to keep the movement in the spotlight. So, what happens next?
I was here at the same venue about a month ago when the Cockroach Janta Party organised its very first protest, and it is just swollen in support. When I spoke to the chief spokesperson, he said that they are planning to come out tomorrow and the rest of this week. They weren't expecting it to be as large as it is now.
How are you,
they're
Lando?
certainly going to keep turning up. And as far as what their movement will do, right now they are...
Hey, court! Oh my gosh! We have so many old names and faces back. Oh, I'm so happy. Okay. I have to stream it this time, right? Like, I have to stream it this time. I have to continue to do it.
Focusing on education reform, on the resignation of the education minister, but they do see themselves as a real vehicle now that will continue to represent the frustrations of young Indians. So this is the last we'll have seen of them.
And that is Azadeh Mishiri, and that's all we need to know about the protests in India and the rise of the Cockroach Janta Party.
Cockroach Janta Party. It's Cockroach Janta Party. This is Janta Patty. It sounds like, a chapati. Cockroach Janta Patty. This is like a burger patty or something. Oh, what patty are you using in your burger? Cockroach Janta Patty.
Accusations of police brutality in Delhi, with reports of more than 100 youth protesters injured in anti-government demonstrations. The Cockroach Janta Party movement has garnered support from millions of Gen Zs in India who are calling for the resignation of the...
You're making me hungry now. I want a burger. Oh my God.
The country's education minister over an exam leak scandal. Well, let's speak to Vijayta Singh, deputy editor with The Hindu, who joins us now from New Delhi. Vijayta, the protests yesterday were significant and tense. What did you observe?
Yeah, thank you so much. For the past 2 days before the protests were held yesterday, young people, young professionals, they had been pouring
the Taurus,
in at
thank you.
Jantar Mantar, which is designated site for protests in New Delhi, and it is extremely close.
We got some streakers here, man. Matt, 3-stream streak. But I know that your streak has been cut off because I started streaming in the evening only, and it was very hard for many people. No fixed address, 115 stream streak. Shiny Mikachu, 195 stream streak. Oh my days.
To the Parliament of India. So this online youth party called the Cockroach Janta Party, which was formed in May, started
Cockroach Janta Party
on Instagram. They had given a call for a march to the Parliament to demand a resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan over the leak of an examination paper here. And prior to this, on July 18th, activist Sonam Wangchuk, who is a prominent figure from Ladakh, he had been fasting he had been on a hunger strike for 18 days almost, and he was forcibly taken away by the police. So after he was taken away by the police, the members of CJP, they asked people
to come to
Jantar Mantar and take this. And since they had already announced this march to the Parliament, so following that, thousands of people they reached Jantar Mantar, and since 9 a.m. the time of the march was 9 a.m. but since it did not start, the crowd became restless, and some of them started moving towards the Parliament building, which is about 2 kilometers from the protest site. And in the melee, some police barricades were broken, and people had almost reached the doorsteps of Parliament when they were stopped by the police, who used tear gas shells and batons, attacked people, and that is how they were contained. Yeah, this is what has happened.
And what has been the public reaction to how the protesters were handled by police?
So there has been a lot of, obviously, anger among ordinary citizens, because these were not members of any political party. These were students, mostly students and young professionals who had, some of them had fought with their families and came to the protest site. So after and mind you, there was an internet shutdown in the area. So the videos and the other footage and the other photos that were circulated, there was a delay in them getting out. And when all the images and footages were finally released, and there were horror stories by protesters who claimed that they were beaten up by the police unprovoked, even if they were standing at a location. So this has all happened, and it created like massive anger, I mean, among the ordinary people.
And are protests continuing today, or will they continue in coming days?
Yes, the police had dismantled the dais where the protesters were sitting, and but soon after, the protesters led by Abhijit Dipke, the CJP founder, they reclaimed the dais, and around 1,000 people are still there at the protest site, and they continue to demand the education minister's resignation.
Are protesters hopeful?
So it's just about the exams? No, man. This is about a corrupt system that has caused 40% youth unemployment and continues to enrich a particular class and continues to use religion to divide society. It's about a system of oppression. It's not just about exams.
Their demands will be met, particularly Cockroach Janta Party founder Abhijit Dipke, who had been part of that hunger strike.
So they're asking for many different things, equitable policies.
So this movement,
the same is happening in Egypt.
And this protest had been going on for a month, but it only gained momentum after Sonam Wangchuk was picked up by the police. In this past month, there was no outreach by the government. But day before yesterday, when there were reports coming in that lots of people are joining the protest site and they are teaming in. Government made the first outreach to CJP people, and they offered talks with the district magistrate level.
Oh, not the protest, but the corruption. Oh, yeah. I mean, CC is bought and paid for.
Officer who is an IS rank officer, who is an Indian Administrative Service officer, and he's the head of the district. But the suggestion was rejected by the CJP people, who demanded that somebody senior speak.
I'm with my family in Bergen, trying not to lose my shit as they are racist right-wing and Zioside. Oh my gosh, Mart. I can only imagine the conversations you're having.
Speak to them. And finally, on July 20th morning, after a lot of negotiations, Health Minister JP Natta, he was deputed to meet the CJP people. So obviously, government, on seeing the scale of protest, they opened a channel of communication with the CJP members, but clearly this was they received the memorandum, they received their demands, but there has been no further communication from the government side to CJP regarding this. And as the Hindu also reported yesterday, the mob after a point had, the crowd after a point had become leaderless. And the people were just, it was a well-behaved lot. The people were like well-behaved. They were taking care of each other. Even if the tear gas smokes were fired, they were protecting each other.
It is me talking calm
beyond a
and
time,
them barking
they
shit.
were not listening to any leader as such. But yet the government opened channels of communication. But since then, there has been no movement on this. So no further movement on this.
And just finally, how has the CJP grown since it was founded? Just in May, just 2 months ago, who are its supporters? And are these latest protests an indication of bigger rallies to come and a movement that could really rattle the government?
You know what really set everyone off, right? This was always on the cards. I mean, unemployment was high. I think it's a mixture of a couple of things. Yes, the exams. Yes, the what do you call it? The guy calling these people cockroaches, etc., etc. But the US's illegal war in Iran, I think, had a pretty big hand to play in this as well, because it had an impact on gas supplies. And when people's energy supply gets messed up that way, I think it has an impact on society as well. So I think it's a perfect storm of different things that have happened, all converging into this mass youth protest. I think people have just hit, I think the tipping point has happened, right? Just so many different crises at the same time. And people are out on the street because they don't know what the hell else to do. It'll happen everywhere. As long as the West continues to, use its power or tries to impart its power on the global South from now on, every time that happens, it will have impacts not only on the global South, but also on the West. And that's the leverage now the global South has, is the West can't just continue to project its power / use its power without self-harm. You know, previously, the West could do whatever it wants and nothing would happen to the West. But the world has changed. There are implications. There are implications for the West now.
Not first time that you may say that the composition of people is different this time for the mass protest. But we saw such protests in 2020, in 2019-20, after the CAA Act was passed here, and before that, and after that, the farmers' protest, which was far bigger, and they had sat on protest for almost a year on the outskirts of Delhi. The only difference here is that these people, they could reach very close to the parliament, and it was reminiscent of the 2012 mass protest which happened after a woman was gang raped in Delhi. So that anger had come out on the streets. So I would not say that this is the first time that, but yes, this is one of the first Gen Z protests for a place for Delhi, because these people had been, as I said, this party was formed in May, and though it had like a lot of online traction, not many people were physically joining their protest at Jantar Mantar. But after Sonam Wangchuk was removed from the protest side, I think it hit a raw nerve. It hit a chord with people. They emotionally felt compelled. And so this is a culmination of a lot of grievances also, because there were not only students who had taken the examination which was leaked, but there were others also that whenever we give a paper, the people had come from other parts of the country. They had, as I said earlier, they had arguments with their family, yet they came. So this obviously touched people somewhere or the other, many people.
Indeed. Vijayta Singh, it's really good to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so that's what's happening in India. And I think something to keep an eye out on, a revolution in India will 100% have global implications, because every country's tech sector depends on India. It will have far-reaching impacts. Whatever happens in India will not stay in India. And this is the one thing that we have to understand, is the times of, you know, conflicts not having impacts on us are over. Every conflict is having an impact on us, and will continue to have bigger and bigger impacts on us. So we have to be very, very clear-eyed about what's coming. Nothing is happening in a vacuum anymore. And if India has a revolutionary moment, it is going to be a huge concern to the West. Massive. To the world. The Gulf states too, who use Indian labor, who enslave Indians.
Pushing to de-escalate tension.
So now we're going to move on to Iran, and we're going to understand some of the latest developments in Iran with everything we've, looked at from an India perspective. If there are issues here with more energy reaching India, it's going to be a problem. It's going to exacerbate Modi's issues. So all of it is connected, folks.
Regional mediators pushing to de-escalate tensions and revive an interim ceasefire agreement between the U.S. and Iran. Iran's interior minister is in Pakistan holding high-level talks with officials. It comes after the U.S. launched more attacks on Iran. Explosions have been reported in multiple areas, including the port cities of Bandar Abbas and Sirik. President Donald Trump has warned Iran will, quote, pay for the killing of at least 3 American soldiers. Now, Iran has responded by conducting strikes against regional countries. Missile interceptions have been reported in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. Authorities in Kuwait say several power and water desalination plants were attacked. All right, in a moment, we will hear from our correspondents in Washington, Doha, and Sana'a in Yemen. But first, this report from Rasul Sardar in Tehran.
On the 10th day of the renewed conflict, the United States continued to target the Iranian civilian infrastructure, but particularly the ports alongside Iranian coastal provinces. Bandar Abbas, Sirik Port, Bandar Lenge, Bushehr, Chabahar, and Konarak ports were once again targeted by the United States. These ports are regarded as Iran's economic lifeline. So what we're seeing through these systemic attacks going after the Iranian civilian and commercial infrastructure, the United States is not only aiming to degrade the IRGC's capacity, military capacity, but also trying to cripple Iranian economy here. But that has not changed.
Whoa! Greetings, Curves. Look at you, Tenakoto. Oh my gosh. Curves. Incredible. Good on you. Good on you for learning that.
Iran's position regarding the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, that's so cool.
So the IRGC saying that the two ships that were attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz suffered massive fires following the explosions. So in the statement, it's not clear whether
awesome,
the IRGC directly hit these ships or whether these ships were hit by the sea mines that were laid by the IRGC in the sea. But the statement ends with a warning. So the IRGC says, it is clear that as long as the U.S. aggression in the region continues, the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, and not a single drop of oil or gas, nor a single package of chemical fertilizer will be exported from the region. So Iran says it is determined to assert its control over the Strait of Hormuz, and the United States insists that the situation in the Strait of Hormuz must return to the pre-war conditions. Neither side is showing flexibility. And that huge gap between the positions of Tehran and Washington is the main challenge to diplomacy. Rasul Sardar, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
All right, Zain Basravi is with us from the Qatari capital, Doha. So, Zain, I understand there are reports of sirens in Bahrain incoming into Kuwait. What do we know at this hour?
We're seeing yet another resumption of attacks in Bahrain and Kuwait. Both countries warning people with air raid sirens in the last hour. Bahrain's government warning people to seek shelter, seek safety, and due to the threat of incoming projectiles from Iran.
Guys, I'm just going to use the bathroom quickly. I'll be back. I need to pause the TikTok live. I'll just pause it. Couple of minutes, okay? I'll just chuck some music on as a filler. I'll be... Oh, really, Curves? That's good. Give me 5 minutes, everybody. I'm just pausing the TikTok live for a couple of minutes. Okay. BRB. I'm back. I'm back, everybody. How the heck are you? Let's get back into it. Thank you for waiting.
Kuwait's government saying that the sounds that anybody hears, any sounds of large explosions, are interceptions being carried out against Iranian missiles and drones. But we also know that there have been ground impacts in Kuwait in recent days, with major attacks affecting water desalination and power plants for 4 days straight. We're also hearing that in Jordan, there's been a number of missiles intercepted by the Jordanian military. The government there announcing at least 5 incoming drones from Iran were intercepted earlier this morning. And meanwhile, another report of massive fires breaking out on 2 tankers that, according to the Iranians, took an unsafe route in the Strait of Hormuz. That's according to the IRGC. What that has become code for is the alternative route close to Oman that goes away from Iranian territorial waters. And what we are seeing Iran do over and over again. Now, the latest escalation by the United States, renewing strikes on Iran into its second week. Iran mirroring attacks by attacking regional countries in retaliation. What we are seeing Iran do is, across every red line, do anything it takes to maintain that pressure point, maintain pressure on the Strait of Hormuz, and continue to hold the global economic corridor hostage as long as it can, to illustrate the point that it is in charge in the region, and it will continue to maintain this pressure no matter the cost.
The point is being illustrated. All right, Zane, stand by for a second. I want to bring in our chief U.S. correspondent, Alan Fisher, who's at the White House for us. So, Alan, a 10th night of strikes hasn't stopped Iranian attacks on commercial shipping. What is the end goal here for the Americans, and how is President Trump justifying this to his own voters who are going to the polls in midterms in just a few months from now?
Well, let's split that.
Who gives a shit? America is bombing another country. Like, let's talk about that. I don't care about the midterms.
Into 2 questions. First of all, what's the end goal? Donald Trump hasn't articulated that. The idea, of course, is that they want to get back to the ceasefire, which people are talking about. But he does have plans to escalate if that is the case, and that's the decision he makes. At the moment, people feel that there's almost a stalemate, that they continue to attack targets that are linked to the Republican Guard and also to Iran's ability to strike international shipping. But if they start to move in to start attacking infrastructure, that will then feel more like an attack on the Iranian people. And the Americans still hold out a faint hope that there could be some kind of internal regime change, even faint though that is. How is Donald Trump selling this to the public? Well, he hasn't really done it much. He's done it much more so since the weekend and the death of 3 American service members. He's been able to say that the Iranians will pay a heavy price for killing Americans. He was due to go to the Dover Air Force Base in Delaware on Tuesday evening for the return of the bodies. That service has now been postponed until a later date. Scheduling issues, says the White House. But before that, Donald Trump really wasn't justifying why there were new attacks in the United States. Certainly they talked about attacks on international shipping that they couldn't let go. And Donald Trump was expected to talk about it last week. Many people thought his big speech, his big televised address on Thursday would be about Iran. In the end, it wasn't. So he hasn't really kind of sold this to the American people much beyond they killed 3 Americans, therefore we have to avenge their deaths.
Okay, so while...
Like, there will be a midterms. He's making that clear by doing this. It has to stop. Yeah, exactly. It's like the midterms, to me, whatever happens, American politics shouldn't be a determining factor in mass murder in the Middle East. Like, it's so bad that journalists keep playing this thing. No one should care. I hope there is a time in the world when no one cares about American politics outside of America. But as long as, America is this way, it's just never going to end. It's a cycle of violence based on when American voters go to the polls.
All of this is happening, Alan. You also have a U.S. official telling Al Jazeera that there are still talks with Iran that are taking place in the background. Do we have a sense of who's involved and maybe how direct or indirect?
I don't understand why we haven't started to do what our forefathers did. You mean slavery?
Direct those talks actually are?
There's certainly no public visibility. The United States isn't saying very much at all, but that tends to be the case. I mean, diplomacy is often carried out behind the curtain, and then you hear what has happened.
Camilla, read a book called The Counter-Revolution of 1776. White revolution is what it was. It wasn't a real revolution. Fighting the British to continue to enslave black people isn't particularly a revolution as such.
Afterwards, or if one,
I think that's the American lie, is that American independence was something sacred and holy.
Party or the other decides to make a strategic leak. There's one way to make sure there are no leaks. You don't tell anyone what is going on, and that seems to be what the Americans are doing at this point. Certainly the idea is that they could get to somewhere where there's a 10-day ceasefire and then return back to the basis, the outline, the framework of the Memorandum of Understanding.
Overthrow those in power. The only real revolution that you should care about is the slave uprisings. Those were brave.
That could be something that is on the table. But while all of these talks about the possibility of a ceasefire are ongoing, the Americans are drawing up plans for making sure that they can move to the next stage if they want. That includes perhaps a much more widespread military operation in Iran. Now, there are reasons why that might not happen, including the availability of weapons and putting troops on the ground. But the options are there for the president if diplomacy in this iteration doesn't actually deliver anything.
All right, our chief U.S. correspondent, Alan Fisher, live for us at the White House. Alan, thank you. I want to go back to Zain Basravi now here in Doha. So, Zain, look, we're seeing the incoming now in Kuwait, Bahrain. Jordan has also gotten the short end of the stick over the last couple of days, but Qatar has also gotten some incoming sporadically. The Qataris have written to the UN condemning these attacks. What have they said? What is the intent behind that letter?
Well, this isn't the first time that the Qatari government has used the highest levels of diplomatic channels to register complaints formally with the UN against Iran, a regional partner, a trade ally, a close neighbor for many, many decades, for generations. What this letter, the language of it, the severity of what they're saying here represents is diplomatic channels, a relationship that will be forever changed by this war. And at the end of this, what Iranian-Qatari relations look like will be very different from what they were the day before the war started. The permanent representative of Qatar to the UN submitted a letter, to two copies, to the UN Secretary General and to the UN Security Council. The letters pointed out the Islamic Republic of Iran targeted the Qatari tanker Al-Rakayat while it was passing near the Strait of Hormuz on July 7th. It also noted missile and projectile attacks, drone attacks on July 12th.
We just went through what's going on in the CJP stuff.
12th, that the armed forces repelled, debris fall injuring people, including a child among 3 that were injured, another specific missile attack on July 17th. So these letters look at specific incidents and they illustrate them to renew Qatar's condemnation of Iranian attacks and strong denunciation of these attacks, but also to register these as formal complaints legally at the highest level of global governance, and to affirm that this aggression by Iran constitutes not just a departure from international law, but a violation of Security Council resolutions. And they they continue to point out that they hold Iran fully legally responsible for all damages caused to Qatar as part of their retaliatory strategy in this war. It also goes on to say they maintain their right to self-defense as per Article 51 of the UN Charter, and that they will take any means necessary to protect their sovereignty and to protect the lives of their citizens and residents in Qatar. This is incredibly strong language. They've done it before. They're doing it again. And what this illustrates is not just how upset GCC countries are, but how willing Iran is to carry on, continue crossing red lines, continue violating international law to maintain its military posture in the Strait of Hormuz.
All right, Al Jazeera's Zain Basravi live for us here in Doha. Zain, thank you.
Reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, so oh my gosh, peace for Lebanon? No, man. Fucking oh no.
The U.S. military is carrying out its 10th night of strikes on Iran, even after 3 U.S. service members were killed over the weekend. Colonel Layton, Iran has been focusing on its counterattacks on Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan. At the beginning of the war, it was a much wider breadth of countries they were targeting in the Gulf region. Why the shift here?
Yeah, that's a great question, Phil. One of the reasons that they did this is because there's a preponderance of American military forces in places like Kuwait, Jordan, and Bahrain. There are also some in the UAE, but there are some relationships that the Iranians have with the UAE and with Qatar, which also has a major U.S. military base. In fact, the largest Air Force base overseas is in Qatar. And the Iranians have decided at the moment not to attack those two areas because of those relationships and the fact that Qatar and the UAE are also working on mediation with Iran. So that's one of the main reasons. But the countries of Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan, they are more open to the U.S. Being a presence in their area for a long time. And the Iranians have basically said that these are areas that they want to strike because of that U.S. presence.
Very explicit, it seems, in how they're targeting at this point. Another service member was killed in a, quote, controlled detonation. Explain for people what that means.
So when you're looking at where these people were killed in northern Iraq is the one that you're actually speaking about here. So in this area in Kurdistan is where this happened. So when you're looking at a controlled detonation, what you're talking about is an effort to basically do what a bomb disposal crew would do. So an explosive ordnance technician was the one that was there trying to dismantle a bomb that was on probably one of these Shahid drones. And that was the idea, was to take out the explosive device before it could harm other people. So he or she was basically going in and trying to defuse.
You're wondering
the bomb.
about the
That's
Falkland
what,
Islands?
The effort was in this particular case.
Hold up.
We're also learning the U.S. is sending more fighter jets to the Middle East. What does that bill tell us about the strategy, the shifting strategy, whatever things are at this point?
Yeah, so one of the types of fighter jets is really the workhorse of the U.S. Air Force, the F-16, and it is basically used for things like air-to-air combat and also air-to-ground attacks. So this is an aircraft that can be used for those very specific missions. And then for the F-35, which is a very key mission, air superiority and strike missions. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be taking jets like this and actually moving them forward in a way that would allow them to really strike at targets really throughout the region. And when you look at the entire region here, they've got a plethora of targets that they can go after. So the target set that we're looking at would include areas here in the south and in the west because of missile launch facilities there. And then we can't forget about Tehran because that's really the center of everything. And then potentially they might actually strike at targets in the northeast because that's the connection via rail to Russia and China.
Do you think from the northeast perspective, Iran's air defenses are demolished enough, are taken care of enough? Like they still clearly have capability. That overflight, I think, would put U.S. assets at a pretty significant risk.
It does put them at risk. However, one of the key things to keep in mind is they have conducted these overflights multiple times, and with assets here in the Arabian Sea and in the Persian Gulf and in places all around here, the overflight is actually not that complicated.
If anything, if there's any punishment...
Should we talk about the Falklands?
They have...
Don't cry for them, Argentina!
I'm sorry about that.
The truth is...
There's been a lot of fans who've had a lot of alcohol today and spent an awful lot of their money to get... If anything, if there's any punishment...
Should we talk about the Falklands?
They have...
Don't cry for them, Argentina!
I'm sorry about that.
The truth is...
There's been a lot of fans who've had a lot of alcohol.
Shall we talk about the Falklands? What a great clip that is. It's the best damn clip.
Because they know where the air defense assets are, and they've taken out a lot of them, and they can hit here. They've already hit here once. They've taken out a railroad bridge right about there, and that very fact really shows what they're capable of. So yes, they can take out a lot more of what the Iranians have if that's part of the target list and if it's part of the strategy.
There's no questioning the effectiveness of the air campaign. It's kind of everything around that that's still kind of up in the air.
The US Defense Secretary has been on Capitol Hill as he trying to defend the war in Iran and ask for more money. Dan Kane said the war had cost almost $38 billion, and that is set to grow.
The Democratic senators are raising the policy objections and the concerns about how the war began, whether the president was.
Okay, guys. Look, I want us to watch this quickly. This is Declassified UK. Israeli arms dealers in UK threaten journalists. What I just want to say about what's happening in Iran is basically Donald Trump is trying to find a way out. He does not want to concede. When concession was put in his face, he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. So he has gone and done the thing that any egotistical maniac does. And that is to kick and scream like a baby, right? This is just going to keep happening. He can't accept it. He can't accept that in order to move on, there has to be concessions. So he's going to, play this escalation game, trying to find another way to get to the Iranian leadership. So to me, I don't see any I'm seeing more escalation. I'm not seeing anything positive here. And I think Donald Trump is going to take the world to the point of oblivion if no one pushes back to him. It's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's the path we're headed down. It's insane. It's crazy. But that's the way I am perceiving it at the moment. Donald Trump just can't handle giving Iran any concessions. He doesn't want to.
You want to report me to the police because I'm a journalist? Do you understand in this country we have a free press? So something quite crazy just happened. A guy from Israeli Aerospace Industries followed us down the road, demanding to see our passes to show we're journalists, and so he's going to report us to the police. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm at the Farnborough Air Show in the English countryside, where people are enjoying the sunshine and watching pilots perform tricks. But behind me, inside those hangars, arms firms are doing deals, and this year, controversially, they've invited to the table 3 of Israel's largest arms companies, despite the genocide in Gaza. This is the first time since that conflict began that Declassified has been granted press access to an arms fair like this. And we want to go and talk to those companies and see why they've been allowed in. First on our list was Elbit Systems UK, a subsidiary of Israel's largest arms firm. I wanted to see if they were marketing equipment that might be covered by the UK government's partial ban on arms exports to Israel. So I've just found the stand for Elbit Systems, Israel's largest arms company, and they're displaying things on this screen behind me that's quite clearly been...
Oh, I forgot to tell you the other day, someone was trying to say you were misogynistic. I was like, the fuck are you talking about? What stream you watching? But must be a different guy. I was telling this lady going through the files about your app thing you making. I think I know which lady you're talking about. She messaged me and said I was misogynistic because I called Ghislaine Maxwell Ghislaine. She's like, oh, it's so misogynistic. You called Ghislaine Maxwell Ghislaine. And my thing is like, bro, you're more worried about me calling Ghislaine Maxwell Ghislaine. She's a pedo enabler. And number 2, that lady that lady didn't have a single post about Gaza, women in Gaza. Whenever a white woman says a brown man is misogynistic, always ask the question, how did that lady's white feelings get hurt? Always. Has this white lady spoken about the women in Gaza using tent scraps as period products? Okay? Do not let these people virtue signal about misogyny, because what I have learned is that white feminism is the most misogynistic thing behind white patriarchy. Do not fall for that fucking bullshit.
Used in Gaza and tested on Palestinians. There's a sign there saying they're displaying air-to-ground munitions. This is the kind of stuff that should be covered by the arms embargo. They're also showing footage of their drones, one of which looks very similar to the Hermes drone, which the Israeli military used to kill 3 British military veterans in Gaza in 2024. We've interviewed one of the families of those victims, who are absolutely devastated by the loss of their son. So I want to go and ask Elbit staff whether they'll apologise to those families and also the parents of all the children in Gaza that have been killed using their equipment. Let's see how this goes. I'm Phil Miller, I'm a journalist. Is it possible to speak to your CEO today, Martin Fawcett?
He's not here today.
He's not here today.
Yeah, I knew exactly who you meant, because it's like literally one lady has called me misogynistic. And the reason why she called me misogynistic is because of Ghislaine. Man, get over it. Get over it.
We haven't got any availability.
White lady got pissed off because I gave another white lady a name, a white pedo lady, a name. Okay, bro, far out.
Okay, so we spoke to some fathers of British military veterans, and their sons were killed in Gaza by an Elbit drone, the Hermes 350, and it looks like you've been displaying that on the screen today.
There's nothing we can do that is going to make you satisfied, so we're not going to get an interview.
But is it not a bit insensitive to be displaying drones that have been used to kill British military veterans? Are you disputing that an Elbit drone killed British military veterans in Gaza? The Hermes 350 drone?
It's fine.
You're denying that it killed British military veterans in Gaza? You're not going to apologise to their families?
I have no comment to say.
Nothing to say at all?
Nothing to say, sir. Sorry, mate.
And how many children in Gaza have Elbit drones killed?
I don't need to ask you a question, sir. Please move on.
Why don't you want to answer questions from the press about that? You're proudly displaying the company's equipment. So we just tried to speak to Elbit there about whether they'd apologise for one of their drones being used to kill British military veterans in Gaza. There's obviously lots of British veterans here at the show today. Immediately they tried to get us to move away from the stand. They didn't want to comment on it whatsoever. I think that shows their attitude towards British military veterans and also the children of Gaza who've been killed by Elbit's drones, which we also asked them about. And again, their immediate response to the Free Press was to try to remove us from the stand.
While Elbit Systems UK argues it is one step removed from its Israeli parent company, the same cannot be said for some of the other firms that I was spotting at Farnborough, which are directly owned by the Israeli state.
I've just spotted another Israeli state-owned arms company here at Farnborough Air Show. It's called IAI, Israeli Aerospace Industries. They're a major player in the Israeli arms industry. I'm going to go and see if they'll let me look around their chalet.
Can I help you?
Yeah, hi, I'm a journalist. Is it possible to have a look around?
No.
No? No press allowed? Or
You have an appointment here?
No. Can I make one or?
And we talk.
With who?
With your press people.
Press people who you want to speak.
Just ask about the company.
You can Google. Check in Google.
So
I'll show you guys that lady's message. It's on my TikTok. I'm happy to make her famous. I don't give a shit. She's not even going to be that famous anyway. It's not like I'm a massive channel or anything. Doesn't matter. Where's she at, bruh? Hold on. I'll find her.
But is that, you just think all journalists should just use Google?
If you want to, can check Google.
Okay. But I mean, is this an Israeli state-owned company?
You can check it in Google.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you've seen what the UN said about genocide in Gaza being committed by Israel? Why is a state-owned company allowed here in Britain? You don't think Israel's committing genocide in Gaza? No comment? Okay. Do you not like the free press? You don't want journalists to ask you questions?
Easy.
So I think his silence speaks volumes there. They don't want to answer any questions from the press about what their company does, its links to the Israeli government, how their weapons are being used for the genocide in Gaza. It seems like there's a pattern emerging here with the Israeli companies not wanting to speak to the press and also taking photos of us, not sure what purposes.
Here she is.
Another thing that's...
This is her. This is the lady, by the way. Can you guys see it? I can't show... Hold on. Yeah, I can show this. I think I can show this on TikTok as well. Hopefully. Hold on. Yeah, so this is her. And this is what she said. I unfollowed you because you don't take this seriously enough to do it. Calling Maxwell Ghislaine is answering misogyny with more misogyny. It's handling a very adult subject like a 13-year-old boy. You should find a different way to fight this administration because any jokes about this, not fucking funny. Great, maybe you can watch the other streamer reading the emails file by file to get justice for the victims then. And then she said this, I do, thanks. I listen to women, read it with intention, with compassion, with understanding of what it is like, something you have had the privilege to avoid. And your snide remarks, otherwise known as misogyny. This is the fucking lady. This is her. Not a single post about the Palestinians in Gaza. A lib who hasn't said anything about the Palestinians in Gaza. Nothing. Be very afraid of white tears, everybody. Be very afraid of white tears. I'm telling you. Especially women like this. Yeah, white feminism will always be the most misogynistic, racist BS the world has ever seen. This is how I ended it. I didn't see one post about the women in Gaza using 10 scraps as sanitary products on your timeline. You expect me to believe that you're compassionate? Lady, you're full of shit. And probably got pissed because I talked about white supremacy. Correction, I didn't see a single post about Gaza. Yeah, she got angry at me because I speak about white supremacy a lot. And she doesn't like that. New follower detected. What's her name? This was in like Feb, this lady sent. So the moment Manda said it was this lady called me misogynist, I couldn't help but think about this lady. It's like plants on the spectrum. I drink white women tears and howl at the moon. It brightens my teeth. That's so crazy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, if I'm being misogynistic, call me out. I'm all for it. But that was very, very performative. And I don't think anyone should be calling anyone else misogynist when they haven't had the spine to speak up about the women in Gaza. Not one thing. Or the women in Sudan, or the women in the DRC. Come on, man.
Quite unusual about these companies is the extra security they have around the stands. You don't see that on the other armed companies displaying here. So it seems like they're very nervous and that they have something to hide.
IAI's security then began taking photos of our camera crew, even though they were clearly identified as media.
You heard your name?
Yes.
No free press?
But that was just the start.
Hey, Amira. Yeah, she what she didn't realize is that lady was defending Ghislaine. Folks, she has spent more energy defending Ghislaine than the women in Gaza. What a hack, bro. That isn't feminism. What the fuck?
Something quite crazy just happened. A guy from Israeli Aerospace Industries followed us down the road, demanding to see our passes, our press passes, to show we're journalists, and so he's going to report us to the police. I asked what crime have we done, all we did was ask questions, and he just said he wanted to report us to the police. Absolutely unbelievable.
They just, what? Hold on, let's just quickly.
It's a real test for the Lebanese army and their ability or willingness to clear the areas of any remaining Hezbollah fighters.
She wrote to just to explain why she is not following you. Yeah, I mean, like, just unfollow me. If you think I'm a misogynist, you don't need to do like a fucking. You don't need to do a goodbye. You know, just unfollow me, bro. Just block me. Why leave with that message? You know, I often wonder: is it really against my misogyny or the fact that I talk about white supremacy?
Just wanted to follow up on what you were saying. You want to report me to the police because I'm a journalist? No, what? So why do you want to report me to the police?
I'm not.
You're not now. You just said you were. You just said you wanted my name so you can report me to the police. You just said that. So now you're lying as well. Do you understand in this country we have a free press?
I really wanted her to refer her. I really wanted to refer her to talk to my manager at idon'tgiveafuck.com. But my email address. But then I thought that was a bit much.
Journalists are allowed to ask companies questions.
Ask?
We have. You didn't want to answer them, so we left.
I'm asking you to leave.
From this road.
I'm asking you that you don't speak with us.
We were leaving, and then you followed us down the road, your colleague, demanded to see our passes, and said he wanted to report us to the police. It was not even clear which police force he wanted to call, British or Israeli, especially as we later ran his image through facial recognition, and he appears to have worked for Israel's equivalent of MI5.
Marit, I didn't always used to be this way. I wasn't I never ever had like, misogynistic views about women. I've respected women's rights, and I've respected women's spaces and all of these sorts of things. I've always been against bigotry. I've always been against bigotry. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. If someone is bigoted, I will say it to their face. I have never been one to step back from letting people know. Man, woman, child, grandpa, doesn't matter. My family, someone else's family, I don't care. And that's one thing I've never ever stepped back from. I never always spoke up so publicly before. That's the thing I've changed. Is I've had the thing I've changed is that I'm far more vocal now. I've never cared in terms of like whether like I don't feel like if someone's being a bigot, if they're a man or a woman, I need to speak to them differently. I believe in equality. I believe that all bigots should be treated the same way. All fascists should be treated the same way.
The Shin Bet. IAI's secluded chalet was not the company's only presence at Farnborough. It also had a stall inside one of the main exhibition tents, right next to a UK government stand. Although IAI was only displaying its satellites here, the company makes drones, which have played a pivotal role.
I'm going to say existing as a man in this world will always be harmful to women. You can't opt out. Yeah, I mean, I'll take whatever comes with that.
In Gaza. Of course, Israeli arms firms are not the only controversial guests at Farnborough. There was an array of British, European and American firms which make parts for the fighter jets that Israel has used to pummel Gaza, like Leonardo, whose trainer aircraft teach aspiring Israeli fighter pilots. I wasn't the only journalist having difficulty.
Jujus, I feel like you're constantly trying to make a point that at some stage I'm gonna like take off a mask and start punching women. It's not gonna happen. But also, I just think what you're doing is projection and maybe your life experience. It just feels like projection all the time. I understand that you've had a traumatic past. I just don't think that you need to like use every opportunity possible to make me feel like, or to make it known that I'm a piece of shit. I already know. You don't need to keep doing it.
Difficulty talking to these companies. Ian Overton had the same reaction when he tried to talk to Rafael, another Israeli state-owned arms factory, which made the Spike missile believed to have killed the British military veterans in Gaza.
Dave says no. We're not allowed in.
Ian, what happened when you just tried to go in to the chalet behind me?
You said, I'm going to say existing as a man in this world will always be harmful to women. You can't opt out. You spoke to me. Who's the you then? If it wasn't directed at me, why did you say you can't opt out? You did direct it at me.
Well, they completely shut it down. They were like, you're not coming in. They wouldn't give us names.
No, but you didn't say men. You said you. You said you. You said you.
Of anyone we could speak to see if we could get in, they suddenly became very monosyllabic.
Oh, but you said you directed that at me. What do you mean if it doesn't apply? I'm a man. Of course it applies to me, but you use every opportunity to do that, Jujus. This is not the first time. It's like, I feel like you wait for that opportunity and then you just say it.
They went into their building and then started filming us from inside outside, as if we were being surveyed. And similarly, I asked Elbit Systems if we could have an interview with them, and they weren't having any of it. So yes, they're here, but they're not letting on what they're selling, what sort of deals are being struck, and how much money they're going to be making out of this week.
Ian, you did well to get as much conversation going with Elbit as you did. They very quickly shut down my line of questioning. But interestingly, when I asked them about the Hermes drone that had been used to kill British aid workers in Gaza...
Who are you talking to, though? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to me by saying you, or was that me misinterpreting that you were trying to educate me? Were you educating me, or were you educating other men? Does that you mean me, or does that mean all men? Is the you use this time me or all men? Or am I misinterpreting that the you use this time? Does that mean the you used this time was me?
They started saying I was misinformed. They tried to deny that was an Elbit drone responsible. And when I pushed further, they just said, well, no, you need to get away from the stand. We're not going to talk to you about this. It felt like they had something to hide there.
I mean, I think the very fact that they presented themselves as Elbit Systems UK, and the moment you...
We must determine who you is? Yeah, I agree. It's like, clearly, Jujus, you said you both times, and... You're telling me that I misinterpreted it. It's like you've used you like differently twice without stating it, and you've expected me to interpret it in two different ways. Do you understand how that could be? Now you're taking it personally. Okay, I use you now because, so you clarified that. So when that first statement was made, you didn't clarify what that you meant, did you? And now you're telling me that I'm taking it personally. It's like you didn't clarify that it wasn't at me when you said you.
Went in, people were speaking Hebrew, people were obviously from Israel. There were no Brits inside that inner sanctum. Why would you classify yourself as an Elbit UK company, which has repeatedly denied links to Elbit Israel, and yet there it is, plain as day? I mean, it just feels as if they...
English is different. No, Matt. No, you can't just let stuff like that slide. If you can just change the interpretation of the word you, that is not about English being hard. That is hiding behind definitions when you didn't clarify in the first place. Like, why? Because it was pointed at me and it wasn't. Yeah, you're saying that now, and then you're saying that I took it personally, Jujus. That is like entrapment. You're trying to entrap me in something. You first said you, and then after I said, well, I'll take whatever comes with that, and then you were like, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to all men. Why are you taking it so personally? It's like, but you said you, and you didn't clarify what you was.
Using obfuscation, they're claiming one thing when another thing happens. What is truth in their eyes? I mean, we've got so many questions we want to ask them, and then their response is denialism and deflection. And I think the real question has to be to British ministers as to why they allow Israeli firms to be peddling their goods on UK soils in the face of repeated embargoes, the UN representing what happened in Gaza as a genocide.
Yeah, you're projecting because you do that all the time. And then you said it wasn't pointed at you. Let me pull up what you said. You know, I have the history, right? Let me just pull up what you said. So this is what you said. Let's go back up. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to say, existing as a man in this world will always be harmful to women. You can't opt out. Hold up. Let me just... let me just bring this up. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let's go back to this. You told me I took this personally. Let's see when you said I took it personally, okay? I'm not letting this one go, Jujus. I'm not letting this one go. This is just like that lady. I am not letting this one go. I'm going to say, this was the first message. This was the first message right here. First message. I'm going to say, existing as a man in this world will always be harmful to women. You can't opt out. Well, am I just supposed to take that as like a general fucking you? You can't opt out at the harm it causes is like, oh, okay. There was no clarification. There was no clarification. There was nothing. Yeah, but I mean, who are they talking to? It's my chat, right? Like how? No, it's not the language, Matt. No, don't say it's the language. That's a cop out, buddy. It's not the language. It's not the language. That's a fucking cop out. That's a cop out. And then I agreed. And then you said, just checking. And then I said, and then that's when I said, I'm not going to take. And then I said, Jujus, I feel like you come here waiting for me to take my mask off and punch women. Like, it's not going to happen. And you said just checking as well. You literally said just checking. Like, why would you say just checking if you weren't talking to me? Hold up. I'll share this with you guys as well. Okay, so here it is. Okay, let's go back to the top. Let's go back to the top. This was the message. I'm going to say existing as a man in this world will always be harmful to women. You can't opt out of that, of the harm it causes. And I said, yeah, I'll take what I want with that. And then you said, just checking. Like it was, you made an offhand statement there, which was the thing that got me going, like, what do you mean just checking? Like, who are you checking with? If you didn't mean me, why were you checking with me then? And then I said what I said after you said just checking. And then you're like, well, what? Excuse me, projector? It wasn't even directed towards you. You internalized that. And you never clarified what this you meant. And why you said just checking. Ha ha ha. Thumbs up. So you weren't checking with me? Did you just say just checking for no reason? Like, what were you checking with? Who were you checking with? No. You can't do that. You were checking with me as a man then, weren't you? You weren't asking me to generally talk about men. You were asking me as a man. So you were asking me. No, but you were asking me though. You were asking me. And then you backtracked. You asked me, and then you backtracked and said it wasn't at you. It wasn't even directed towards you. What do you mean it wasn't directed towards you? Of course it was directed towards me. Come on, guys. No. Juju is right all the way, but how? Explain how. So Juju's is talking to me, and then backtracks. I called her out. Yeah, of course we are. We're living in a patriarchic world. I just don't agree. Okay, can someone explain to me how it was not pointed at me? You can't just say you and then reinterpret it when I call you out. What did she backtrack on, Miss Pinky? What did she backtrack on? What did she try to explain to me? Tell me. Come up and explain. Come up and explain. I'm gonna invite you up. You can come up and explain. Resume live. She did backtrack. She absolutely backtracked. Nah, adios. Okay. Spineless. Spineless. Oh, now Monique, you are interpreting what she is saying. When if she wasn't talking to me, then why would she say just checking? If she wasn't talking to me, why would she say just checking? Why would she say just checking? So you were pointing it at me. Just say that you were pointing it at me. Like, that's it. That's all I need. Were you pointing it at me or not? Yeah, I know you were including me, but was that statement at me when you said you and said just checking? But why did you say just checking then? If it wasn't at me, why did you say just checking? That sounded like you wanted my reaction to it. Because you responded first. So you were asking me. Who else would have responded on this live? Who else would have responded? Oh, come on, Jujus. We're not children here, Jujus. This is just gaslighting. No, man. No. You would not have said. You didn't say it to anyone though. You said it to me. That's the point. The point is you were just saying it directly to me, you know? Like you can't say something like that and then immediately say I wasn't pointing it at you. You took it personally. Like What do you mean? Because no one responded at that time. No, Jujus. No. You can't bury your head in the sand like that. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You are gaslighting me. You are saying that I am internalizing it and taking it personally after you acknowledged that you were checking with me. You backtracked after saying just checking.
Side, I think it's a much wider question as to why we continue this military and industrial engagement with Israel.
Yeah, the worst part about this is like, at least exactly Don Zero. Can we normalize people standing behind their words and saying it with their chest? Yeah, exactly. It's like 3 backtracks. Oh, I didn't mean you. And then it was like, oh yeah, I did mean you as a man. And then going, well, when I said just checking, it was because you were the first one who answered. And then going, no, I wasn't talking about you. You internalized it. Like literally, they've changed the meaning of you like 4 times there. I'm sorry, Juju.
Very much like from the video.
That's a horrible thing to do. In my honest opinion, that is a horrible thing to do.
Equipment they tested in Gaza on Palestinians. Last year at another arms fair in London, declassified wasn't allowed in, but the Israeli State Pavilion was banned from being at that fair. But now they're acting like this is, they're able to come back and do business as if nothing's happened.
Absolutely. I mean, what we've seen is the UK's imports of arms from Israel has increased by 10,500% since 2023 to the current day. It's as if the trauma and horror of Gaza has had no impact on business here. The checkbooks are open. There's lots of businesses and meetings being had. We've seen people going both into Raphael and into Elbit, and I think it's as if there is no link made between what these systems were trained to do in Gaza, the Palestine laboratory, and what we're buying, both as the UK and the wider NATO countries are buying from Elbit and Raphael, which are weapons that ultimately have been linked to what the UN has classified as a genocide.
So I've spent most of the day at the Farnborough Air Show now talking to lots of people. Many of the stall holders were very friendly, but it was very noticeable as soon as we went near the Israeli arms firms and said we were journalists and asked the most basic journalistic questions, immediately we got a very aggressive overreaction, threatening even to report us to the police. I've covered lots of arms fairs like this, and that is quite an extraordinary reaction. We're filming this on the day that Andy Burnham enters Downing Street and becomes Prime Minister. He said that Labour had got their response wrong on Gaza and been too slow to act. And yet here we see Israeli arms firms are still being allowed into events like this. It remains to be seen whether he will really take action against arms sales to Israel. At Declassified, we want to keep investigating who's arming Israel amid the genocide in Gaza, and we can only do that with your support. So if you can, please go to declassifieduk.org/join, where you can find out more about becoming a member. Thanks for watching.
The bit that really got me, guys, was the backtracking of, oh, no, I didn't mean you just internalized that, like entrapment or something. It's like, hey, if you're talking to me, you say something to me, I reply, and then you acknowledge it, and then you acknowledge that I replied, that is having a conversation with me. To then backtrack after I react to that, because Jujus, you have brought that up every single time. Like I have spoken about this subject or in many other cases. And I've just said, you're not going to one day come here and see me take a mask off and start beating up women, and then you say, oh, I didn't mean that to you because I called you out about it, and then saying that you internalized it just seems to me like you were trying to get a reaction so you could entrap me in something. It doesn't seem like a legit conversation. It feels like entrapment. And that's not okay. No, it's not that you're expecting me to take off a mask. It feels like it, I said. It feels like you're expecting me to take off a mask and then beat women. You know? Like every time you say something like that, like it was a metaphor for, you know, do something like brazenly misogynistic to somebody. It was, and then to just go, oh, I wasn't pointing that conversation at you at all. Okay, you're being genuine. It's just like right now, you're backtracking that you were having that conversation with me. At least have the conversation with me, because it felt like you were. If you were being genuine, then that genuine conversation was railroaded by you saying that, no, I wasn't talking to you. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, Katie, now I'm not taking it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, now. Anyway.
What do you know about Moonshot?
Okay, so guys, like, I am a man. Okay, I am a man. I know I am a man. This is who I am, and I understand patriarchy. I understand what patriarchy has done to women, in terms of an oppressive model, and the need to dismantle the patriarchy to make the world more equitable for all. Where Juju's and I disagree is at what level patriarchy works. In my opinion, white supremacy is a more overarching at this moment in time. White supremacy, without dismantling white supremacy and white privilege, we will not be able to dismantle patriarchy globally. And the way I explain why that is because white supremacy has created inequities. White supremacy has created inequities globally. How will an Aboriginal woman fight her patriarchic model when she doesn't have the means of a white woman? Okay? How will a Palestinian woman fight her patriarchic model if she doesn't have the tools to fight it like a white woman in, say, America does? We have, or in Sudan. And it's not just patriarchy, it is also the class war. I don't believe unless white supremacy and white privilege are dismantled, we can fight and dismantle patriarchy or the class hierarchy. We can't. Right? That is my point of view. How are women of color around the world in the global south supposed to fight the patriarchy without dismantling white supremacy and white privilege? How? That has always been my view. I'm not denying the existence of patriarchy or dismantling patriarchy or anything like that.
Well, Lorna, I knew nothing about it until the weekend, really. So, and I don't think anybody else did either. It came from a bolt from the blue. It's a Chinese star.
And I think white women tried to maintain white privilege and or at least uphold white privilege and white supremacy by being misogynistic to people of color and women of color, okay? By excluding them from spaces that fight that are meant to fight the patriarchy. It matters. These things matter. That's why I say white feminism is a massively misogynistic movement.
Startup, and it's got a new AI platform called Kimi K3, which apparently is almost as good as, well, it's pretty much.
I think we agree on more things than we disagree with, Jujus. That's all I'm trying to say is, like, if you want to have a conversation with me, just say you're having the conversation with me. You don't have to digress if I, bring up a metaphor that makes you feel uncomfortable. I understand there is a trauma reaction to these things. I just don't think, I hope I don't bring out that response because I am not that person, or I'm trying not to be that person. I know I can't stop being a man though, can I? And I understand that these responses come through. But what I urge you to do is when you're talking to me and I reply back and you acknowledge it, just talk to me. Okay.
Identical to the main programs that both Anthropic and OpenAI produce. I think they've got a slightly updated version now, and it might be just lagging behind those ones. But clearly it is right up there in terms of the technology and what it can do.
And a surprise at that, goodness. When does it come out, and how and where will people access it?
There have been some early releases of it, so it has been looked at and it's been assessed on that basis. But I think the full release is about a week from now, and then it'll be subjected to full testing. It's different to the American ones in that it's what's known as open source. So pretty much anybody can access it and then use the AI to develop their own sort of structure in how they use it. Whereas the American models are it's a corporate model they'll sell you the access to their
and it's very expensive.
Okay, tell your conversation about a citizen whose life was almost forcefully taken by murder, and no one says anything, and the court says despite him being a liar, I have to know his contact. Yeah, man. Like I have been watching the Epstein class get away with pedophilia, not just because they're men, but because also they're white men. There are differences to this. Do you think if a pedophilia ring was run by brown men, it would be excused the way it has been with the Epstein files? You got to understand there are levels to this, right? There are levels to oppression.
I mean, that's how these companies are making their money. Could this emergence of moonshots, which has come out of nowhere?
It's about asymmetries in the world. We've got to acknowledge these asymmetries. We've got to acknowledge these asymmetries. And if we don't acknowledge and we just look past these asymmetries, then we are not going to dismantle the systems we want to dismantle.
Trigger some sort of price war between access to AI?
Well, this is the big problem, and that's exactly what everybody is fearing at the moment, because the American firms have been throwing trillions of dollars at developing artificial intelligence, and not just the artificial intelligence models and the platforms themselves, but also the chips that go into them, the data centers. I mean, there's vast...
I don't think not all men is also a great argument, guys. Like, it may not be all men, but it doesn't matter. Patriarchy is patriarchy, okay? Patriarchy is patriarchy. And this is like saying not all white people are white supremacists, or not all white people have white privilege kind of conversation. It's not about it not being all men. It's that...
Incoming raid detected.
Thank you, Raiders. Welcome. Hope you stick around and hit that follow button. Justin. Hey, Justin. Welcome. Thank you for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. Hopefully you guys had a good live. Thank you so much for the raid, Justin. Appreciate you. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're having a conversation. We're having quite an awesome conversation, actually, around patriarchy, and so join in. Thank you for being here with me. With us. Yeah, look, I don't agree with this. It's not all men. Men have the privilege of defaulting back to the patriarchy, and that's the issue. Often it's not that men use or don't use patriarchy; it's that they can default back to it. Just like white privilege. That's how white privilege works. Is men suck a man? Yeah. Yeah, man. If I was lost in a forest with a man and a bear, even I would choose a fucking bear. Anyway, it's not that it's all men until it's none. Yeah. It's the thing about white privilege, right? It's a lot of white people are like, oh no, I don't have white privilege, whatever. No, but it's there. It's default. It's always there. And patriarchy is always there when you're a man. You can always default on it. It's just who has access in what way, based on what sort of man you are and what environment you're in. Like in India, for example, Brahmin men have access to the patriarchy. So, because they're the top of the caste or whatever. But globally, the ones who have access to the patriarchy with the most privilege are white men,
Amounts of money that's being thrown at here. There's been
you've gone overtime. It's okay. I want to get through this one. I want to get through this Chinese AI thing because I think it's important. Let's just get through this, guys. Let's just get through this. It's okay that it's a little bit overtime. It's all right.
What do you know about moonshot?
Well, Lorna, I knew nothing about it until the weekend, really. So, and I don't think anybody else did either. It came from a bolt from the blue. It's a Chinese startup, and it's got a new AI platform called Kimi K3, which apparently is almost as good as, well, it's pretty much identical to the main programs that both Anthropic and OpenAI produce. I think they've got a slightly updated version now, and it might be just lagging behind those ones. But clearly it is right up there in terms of the technology and what it can do.
And a surprise at that, goodness. When does it come out, and how and where will people access it?
There have been some early releases of it, so it has been looked at and it's been assessed on that basis. But I think the full release is about a week from now, and then it'll be subjected to full testing. It's different to the American ones in that it's what's known as open source. So pretty much anybody can access it and then use the AI to develop their own sort of structure in how they use it. Whereas the American models are it's a corporate model where they'll sell you the access to their.
And it's very expensive. I mean, that's how these companies are making their money. Could this emergence of moonshot, which has come out of nowhere, trigger some sort of price war between access to AI?
Well, this is the big problem, and that's exactly what everybody is fearing at the moment, because the American firms have been throwing trillions of dollars at developing artificial intelligence, and not just the artificial intelligence models and the platforms themselves, but also the chips that go into them, the data centers. I mean, there's vast amounts of money that's being thrown at here. There's been concerns for quite some time about whether or not the Magnificent Seven, or
welcome.
Magnificent 10, I guess, whether these companies can actually recoup the money that they've spent on the development of all this. And the only way they could do that is if they really acted as a cartel, almost a block, where they could charge enormous amounts of money for corporations and governments to use their artificial intelligence. If you've now got another player in the field that is actually producing extra that's a more supply of the same product, then the prices have to come down. If you've got players in the field that are producing pretty much what you can produce, but at 40% of the cost, that is a big problem.
And it's a problem for the future as well, isn't it? Because these companies, I mean, we've talked before about the tech bubble and might it not burst, but these companies need future investment to keep doing what they're doing. I mean, investors are going to be reluctant to dip into their pockets if they can see the bubble starting to burst.
Well, that's right. I mean, you know, the sky-high valuations from these big tech companies, which have really driven our superannuation returns for the past few years, really, these valuations have all been predicated on the idea that these companies will be able to charge enormous amounts of money and make big profits into the future. If you've got somebody then undercutting that whole business model, then that could shake the foundations of the boom that we've seen and probably result in some kind of a pullback, correction, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Is it having an effect, or will it have an effect on the global market?
Well, yeah. And look, if you look at the way markets have performed in the past 4 years, really since the pandemic, what happened is we had a recovery in technology stocks, which drove the early, you know, Wall Street really dominated there, and American technology companies, the recovery in them really drove global stock markets and, you know, our superannuation returns. And then for the past 2 years, those very same companies have been involved in this race for domination of artificial intelligence, and that is really, you know, investors have just gone crazy for these kind of stocks. And not just on Wall Street either. I mean, if you look at the South Korean market, for instance, in Seoul, the Kospi index, the market there has trebled in the past 12 months. Trebled. Not gone up 30%. It's come off 30% in the past few weeks because of these concerns about overvaluation. But it's just been an extraordinary run. But the concerns are that it's been overvalued.
Oh, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Ian Meredith, thank you very much. And if you want to understand more about...
I think this is quite a big deal. I think this area is being underreported, if anything. There needs to be a lot more tracking. Take care, Leah. It was good to see you. I think this area needs a lot more love in terms of tracking where things are. The reason why it's being underreported like this, you changing your schedule, competing for prime time? No. I'm streaming once in the morning for 2 hours and once in the evening for 2 hours. Just because there's a whole bunch of people on other platforms as well who were used to watching me in the morning, so I want to catch everybody, people in our community, who were missing the morning lives. So. Oh, yeah, for 2 hours. I think this is underreported on purpose because of how big the bubble is. Evening break, big kid. It is. It's underreported because of how big the bubble is, and they're not following through. Only when like massive things happen, like what time do I come on in the AM? AM for you will be PM for me, right? So 8:30 PM my time, 8:39 PM my time. I don't know what that is for you, Monique. Sorry. I live in Aotearoa, New Zealand, by the way. Yeah. So I think the underreporting of this is purposeful. So only when like big things happen, like Kimmy coming out or whatever, that's when it gets reported. It's insane. And they're doing it because they don't want to see these market factors being reported on. Because what that's going to do, guys, is it's going to create uncertainty. And because these markets are based on vibes, any sort of uncertainty, any uncertainty is going to fuck it up. Justin, have I talked about South Korea? No, I haven't mentioned that. That's such a great point. I think I should talk about South Korea later on. I will talk about it. That's such a great point. South Korea's sell-off has been pretty epic, hasn't it? Hey, what's going on? Why are people coming on now? Am I streaming at the wrong time in the mornings? Should I be streaming between like 1 to 3 or something? What time should I be streaming? Hassan just ended? Oh. When Hassan's stream ended, other channels all get a massive bump.
I want to be a good boy.
Reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
I was 8 p.m. Eastern time, but I switched to 6 p.m. Oh. Hey, so shall I start doing 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. then? Sorry, no, I can't do 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It will have to be 12:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. because I have to go pick my son up.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
I want to be a good boy.
Okay. What time zone? Pacific Auckland, New Zealand Standard Time.
Hooyah, Navy.
Yeah, New Zealand Standard Time.
Hooyah, Navy. Hooyah, Navy.
Jeez, nuts.
Head of Mossad.
Okay. So tomorrow I will come. Oh my gosh! People just keep coming in. No! My timings are wrong. My timings are wrong, Hassan. Hassan, what you doing, bro? What you doing? Oh, fudge. So you think 1 p.m. is better then? So this would be better, right, Fudge? Oh, I get it now. I get it.
Prime sub. You just took money from Bezos. Welcome to the Noisy Crew.
12th planet. Thank you so much. 2 months. Thank you so much, 12th planet. Thank you. Currently on a 1 month streak. Wow. Okay. So today I streamed from 10 o'clock in the morning here, and it's been what? 2.5 hours? Oh, 3 hours. So I will start streaming. I'll start streaming from 12:30 from tomorrow. 12:30 from tomorrow. It gives me time in the morning to get everything ready as well. So that's good. First time I've caught you streaming during my daytime in a while. What a treat. I'm just about to finish as well. Just one camera. But I'll be back tomorrow at this time. It's 9 p.m. That's a good time, right? Isn't that a good time? Yeah, let's try it tomorrow, Fudge. Yes, for sure. Okay, I will be back at this time tomorrow, but don't forget I'll be live in the evening as well. We'll do a couple of hours. Hi from Atlanta. Oh, hi Amy. But I like your lives at 3 a.m. I listen to them at work. Yeah, I'll be on. I'll be on at 3 a.m. The same time as well. Corey, of course. So, yeah, I'll change the 2-hour window tomorrow. Jason Society. Okay. Guys, we're going to raid Jason Society, Twitch. We're going to raid Jason Society, but tomorrow we're going to try this time. The night lives get me through all the all-nighters I have with homework. All good, Jujus. Yeah, I'll still be there. I'll still be there at nighttime. All good. See you then, everybody. Oh my gosh. Have a great day, everyone. Kakite. Azadi. It's so good to see you, Azadi. Hey, Pex. Oh my gosh, everyone's coming in now. Oh, this is the time. What have I been doing? Okay. I get it. From tomorrow, we're going to stream this 2-hour window. Woo! Woo! Let's go. All right. Am I going? Yeah, Cloud. I am. I've just finished. All right, everybody, take care. Hassan doesn't stream tomorrow, so that can. Oh, yeah. Boomfa. The algo is messing with me. I don't know. Take care, everybody. I will catch you all soon. Kakite. Nice, Kevs. Kakite, everybody. Paul Marie and Morena, wherever you are. Here we go, Raiders. Please be loud in Jason's stream. I will catch you all soon. Let's go, Raiders. In 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the raid. Salam, everybody. Kakite. I'll catch you all soon. Goodbye. See you soon. Free Palestine. Scary, the raid is done. You came in just... Let me raid again. Wait. I'll just raid again for you. Hold up. I'll just raid again for you. I'll do a double raid. Okay, here we go. Get ready, Raiders. Get ready. We got a double raid going. No probs. Take care, Scary. I'll catch you soon. Nice. All right. Take care, all. Kakite.